see. Oh,
大
and when I
家
record, I think you're gonna get a notification to kind of like give your permission.
佳佳
So
来了，开始了，你看看他书，他有教，过来，
okay, so and if you're let me just where can I put it?
我打开了，但是他说，你看他说我们啥，但是他这全英文的，我看不懂。他说我们有下载好吗？对吗？我跟他说 no， 是吗？
我们下载好了吗？
没有。
Oh, and you don't have to like just turn your you could open your camera and mic if you want. Like this is not like a one-way lecture. You're free to discuss. I'm just gonna write a notice to everyone. If you yeah, sure, you can record. Join. Actually, before I do that, there's another poll that I'm gonna do. It's
我给你煮点面吃，我刚刚点了点面。
how do I can I do a double poll? Actually, I'll do it at the end of the class. Join filled out the I'm not sure what safe mode is. I reckon it would work. You could try opening because if you have the two files that I sent, you could try opening it in your safe mode. And if it works, then I think it'll work for the rest of the class. Can you mute me when I'm not talking? Okay, wait, someone's talking? Give me 1 second.
行，然后
Okay, yeah, I see. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna see because my volume is really quiet right now. Okay, I'm gonna mute Karu. Oh, David, can you just say something so I can hear? I mean, I can.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Interesting. I actually cannot hear anyone. Give me 1 second. Oh,
Whoever
is it
that
here?
did that, please stop. Can you not hear me?
You could press like test mic it like it tests it for you, the volume.
Weird.
Maybe not show
Okay,
him
some technical
that
difficulties here.
via
Give me 1
microphone he
second.
can hear you.
Stop sharing. You guys can still see me probably, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you and hear you okay.
Microphone works. Interesting. Oh, I can hear now. Great. David, you want to say something?
Okay.
Okay, I hear. Hi. Okay. Oh, we're back on track. 10 minutes. Sorry, guys. I just disconnected my thing. Okay, cool. So where was I? I'm gonna go back to sharing screen. Okay. And as I was saying, you can open your camera and mics if you feel like it. Okay, so we're gonna jump, since we wasted like 5 minutes, we're gonna jump into let's see what I have here done. Okay, and I'm going to end the poll that we had here. 40. I'll give it a minute. Sorry. So I'm gonna go through the outline for today. And we're going to, oh yeah, just a reminder to record this meeting. There, okay. We have a preparation and then I'm gonna talk about myself. So what school I go to, where do I live? Not where do I live? Where well yeah, where do I live? And then kind of interesting things about me. And if you guys have other questions about, I've already answered a lot, but if you have more questions, you can also type in the chat or open your mic. And then gonna check how is the installation of the software going for everyone. And make sure that you have your 2 files received. I think I sent them around an hour ago. So it should be in your email. And if you haven't received it, just put a message in the chat. Okay, so, and then our first half is gonna be like really, actually I should probably talk about the thing first. So if you're just to see if you're here for the right thing, right? This is a online 3D modeling course and it's free. So basically 1.5 hours meeting every week, and we might have a longer meeting today because depending on how many people are here, I'm gonna like just make sure everything is organized. And then essentially we're gonna be learning Rhino, which is the app that you've all downloaded. Okay, there's a message in the chat, David, maybe you could answer. Yeah, okay. And we're going to learn from, basically you don't need any experience. We're gonna learn from making like boxes, making circles, to making really complicated design. And you don't have to be like, don't be scared. And I'm gonna show you some, okay, let's go back to the outline here. And for the first half of our class, which is around like until maybe 6:15, since I wasted 5 minutes, we're gonna basically teach you to be familiar with the app, like how everything works. And then there are some really useful tips that help you, that makes your life convenient. So we're gonna talk about that. And then but even though it's 3D modeling, we're gonna start with participant request of live transcription. Oh, okay, sure, no. Okay, hopefully it doesn't, the translate doesn't mess everything up. Okay, and Derek raised your hand. Derek, do you have a question?
Isn't like the free Rhino thing only lasts like 90 days?
Sorry, I couldn't really hear you that well. Was it just me, David? Or
Yeah, there was a bit echo. Maybe send it in the chat.
okay. Ooh, I'm getting subtitles. Okay. And then, okay, so we'll answer Derek's question soon. And then basically we're gonna go over like, even though this is 3D modeling, we're gonna go also, so do you need the transcript for Chinese, or I'm gonna put the setting on so that people can hear it. Okay, cool. So even though this is 3D modeling, for the first half of our first class, we're going to do some 1D and 2D line sketching, which are kind of your prototype drawings. You usually start with the 2D work whenever you're making something. And then we're gonna learn some like basic design concepts like geometric shapes and organic shapes. And then advance to curve sketching and some other stuff that we'll talk about. And we're gonna take a break at 6:15, which is in 30 minutes, but it's fine. Maybe a little later, depending on where we're at. And then, yeah, we'll maybe have more breaks, and then I'll talk about this later. So for now, I'm gonna just do a quick about me section. Just here, like, hi, my name is Kenneth, and I live. Zoom thing is really annoying. So I live in Canada. I live in Surrey, Canada. Let's move this down here. Okay. I came to Canada in 2016 from China. And in China, I lived in Shenyang. And now I'm in grade 11 and I go to Elgin Park Secondary.
Oh, me too. I'm
Oh.
grade 7 and I will be in Elgin next year.
Oh, that's great. what element? Actually, no. This is a lot of people shouldn't discuss. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll talk later. And checking on the poll is fine. Okay, and then there's some pictures like about me, like I really like cats, and then I do some drawings. I like modeling, obviously, and then I like making kind of in real life models. And this is me with a lot of cats. And then I also run a computer design club at my school. So there are some pictures and then me doing drawings. So that's fine. Yeah, everyone got this video. Actually, I'll leave it here. So yeah, so that's something about me. And questions and such. Okay, so we're gonna get started on our first half, which is about the app. So let me share my app. Okay. So you could open this on your computer or you could just listen. It's up to you. But when you have downloaded the software successfully, you should see this 4-window playing. And it should be in English. And then you have your top, your front, and your right views. These are your 2D views. And what we're gonna be working with for the first half of our lesson. And essentially, just to get you familiar with how everything works, and this should be pretty simple to understand. Let's say I make a box. Actually, let me change modes. Okay, let's say I make a box. Everyone should know what a box is, right? It's just a rectangular prism. So when you have something like that, in perspective mode is how we see it in real life. And if we go back, just do double click, and you double click any window to zoom in. Like that. Then we should in top view and front view and right view, in these 2D views, we should see a 2D shape. And these are basically called let's say you have a display here. So when you have a piece of paper, or actually let's make this the same size as your rectangle. Let's say we have this is a box, and then we have a piece of paper. When we look at it from the top, we can't really tell the difference, right? Because it's all a 2D rectangular shape. However, when we go to front or right, actually not right, when we go to front, you can see that the box remains a rectangle, but the paper became a line. So that is like the basic views of 3D modeling. You have your 3D view, which is in this case, your perspective, and you have your different 2D views. So that just helps you to better understand what you're modeling. And our next step is kind of getting familiar with all of the commands and the things you can access. Move something up here. Yeah, they will be recorded. And I'm not sure how. Usually I send the recording through Google Drive, but if you don't have Google Drive, we can figure something out. And okay, so hopefully everyone has their app open, which is preferred. And the first thing we want to do is go to, and my subtitle is blocking the way. How do I do this? Oh, no. Okay, gonna move it here, should be fine. Okay. If you're on Windows, then you should see like a very small line. If you can see where my mouth is, you can see a small line of words. And if you're on a Mac, they should be on the top around here. And first thing you want to do is that you want to make sure you have grid snap, planner, snap, and this thing called gumball on, which is when it turns to blue. Okay, so hopefully everyone has that. And if you have any questions or you can't find where it is, just drop a message and then David should answer it. Okay, so once everyone got that, and you're gonna check the near point, mid, and perp. And if you have any different language, the order should be the same. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. You skip 4, 5, and you go to 6. Okay, hopefully everyone got that. And okay. And I'm going to explain some of the basic navigations around the software. So let's go back to a simple box. If you know a bit of math, then you should understand basically when you open the plane, right? There's like this transparent gray plane on here, and on top of it, there's a red line and a green line. Basically, you need to see that the red line is your x-axis, and the y line is what am I doing? The red line is your x-axis, and the green line is your y-axis. And everything you can see that each of these grids, you can kind of take measurements. This is right now I'm in inches, so from here to here, this will be 1 inch, and then this point will be 1, 1, because the x value is 1 and y value is 1. And so now that we have our box here, if we want to kind of do anything with it, we have to select it first, which is very simple. Just left click on your mouse or your touchpad. And to move it around, you just have to drag it and then move your mouse. And it would be really helpful if you guys are like doing this in your own apps. But if you have any troubles, like it's fine. You can watch the recording after, and then it should be good. And the next step is
Tugan, I'm sorry. How did you make a 3D shape again?
Oh, no, we're gonna teach that later.
Okay.
Let's actually start with a let's start with a point, okay?
Okay.
So to make a point, you just have to type. Oh yeah, over here is your command bar. And basically whenever you type something, it's gonna go here. So if I wanna say today is Friday, it's gonna go here. And usually this is where we type commands. And there are also other ways. So there are like these icons here that you can click. But to make a point, we're going to type point and then press enter. And you see our mouth basically went from a cursor to a kind of a plus sign shape. And this is gonna give you, wherever you click, there's gonna be a point. So when you have this point, and it's on your X and Y grid, like that, you can click on it, left click to select it. And then if you want to move around, just drag, use your left click to drag. So that's how basically we move shapes around. And when you want to, let's say you have 2 points. Actually, we should mind if I use rectangle? Okay, rectangle is very easy. You just type rectangle here. And to make your rectangle, you need the first corner. So left click, first corner. So it's like making a point, except 2 steps. And the system's gonna give you the shape like that. And for certain commands, whenever you execute something, which means you complete the steps. So our first step was to do the first corner of the rectangle, which we already did. And then now it's gonna skip to the second step, which is the other corner. So let's say I want it to be this big, like that. Now we have a line rectangle. And we can make another one, let's say like that. To select both of these, first you have to select one using left click, and then you're gonna hold shift on your computer and then click the other one so that they're both selected. And I'm getting some okay, there we got it. All right. And now that we have both selected, it shows like a yellow highlight. And now we just have to drag on it to move around like that. Okay, hopefully everyone got that. Actually, I'm gonna keep these. There's also another way. If you're familiar with like Photoshop or other things, you can use your mouse and then drag kind of a window, and everything inside this window will be selected like that. Okay. And let's go back to, so now we're going to do some navigations, which means how you move around this workspace. basically when you hold, so selecting usually is left click. And when you want to, let's say you have your shape here and you want to rotate around the shape. So you have something here that you want to move around, you just hold your right key and drag. The plane is going to rotate and you can just rotate it back. So that's some basic navigation. And another thing, if you have another rectangle,
上完课了吗？
if you have another rectangle here, like that, but your window is now zoomed in on this one, all you have to do is hold shift. Oh, I should probably make like a keyboard. Anyway, so you hold shift and then you right click and drag. So that's going to move the plane. Whereas if you don't hold shift and you right click drag, it's going to rotate. So that's the difference. Okay. And now, and let's see. Okay. One last thing, you can zoom in on objects, which is using your scroll wheel. Okay, disconnect my mouse. Everyone knows where their scroll wheel is. Like it's like this one. Basically, it makes the camera focus on your object more. Okay. Oops. So in this case, if you want to zoom in on your rectangle, just use your scroll wheel, zoom in and zoom out. So it's pretty simple. And if you want more precise zooming in, you just have to hold your control button, where on Mac it's command. And I would recommend doing Rhino with a mouse if you have one, because it's really it's a lot more comfortable and it's really easy to work with. But for touchpad, it's like the same. If you left click on the mouse, it's like the same left click on touchpad, and right click is right click. So back to zooming in, if you want to zoom in more precisely, you hold control and you can drag with your right click. Notice how there's a magnifying glass on my cursor. So again, control and right and drag. Okay, so that's some basic navigation problems. Mine is just lines. I can't. You're not supposed to move the background because it is fixed. It's essentially locked. Okay, answer some questions, and then we're going to move on to doing a short little practice. When you create a rectangle, you can snap into the grid. Okay, so to answer Rachel's question, if you want to make another rectangle, right? So remember when I did all of these settings, these are like the snapping settings. So since I have O snap turned on and all of these check marks, actually you can check all of them, but some of them are not necessary. So I skipped them. But the most important ones are the first four. So now that I have, as long as you have the setting on, I have a rectangle here. And if I make another rectangle, it's going to automatically, I'll zoom in a bit. It's going to automatically click onto the edge and it's going to say end. So you can click again, like that. And their edges are going to perfectly kind of align. Okay. So just make sure you have the grid snap and the O snap on. And this does 3 point, how did it mean? 3 point round. Oh, don't worry about this. We'll maybe talk about this in like the third class. Essentially making really strange kind of rectangles that you don't really use. Okay, let's go back to answering more questions. Mine is just lines. Okay, well, we can talk about that after, but the main thing about that is that Rhino, okay, this is a really cool thing. This is not really that important. When you have a box, you can just type box to answer Alice's question. So how do they make the box? It just type box. And you're gonna have, it's like the same as making a rectangle. You have your first corner, you have your second corner, like that. So now that you have your rectangle, it's gonna give you the third command, which is the height. You can see over here. And you can adjust it like that. So here, there's a box. And when you first open Rhino, it should look actually like that, which is why it's just lines. Because Rhino actually offers different viewports. Actually, no, not, yeah, viewports. And is the default is wireframe. And I moved it to shaded. That's why you can see a solid shade. There are also some more that you can play around with, like render. It has a light and this used for like finalizing projects. And then the rest are not really that useful. It's maybe ghosted. Ghosted is like it makes the surfaces translucent so that you can see half through the your planes. And yeah, so usually we just work with shaded, and if you're seeing all lines, don't worry. That's probably just because you're in wireframe mode. Okay, how do you delete rectangles? Oh, delete it just yeah, the delete key. Okay. Can I keep? Yeah, you could. And you have to but when you make a project, you have to set it to centimeters, if that makes any sense. But then keep in mind, like the 4 centimeter by 4 by 4 by 4 by 4 in centimeters, it's like the same rectangle in inches, except it's like a little bit larger or a little bit smaller. So yeah, you could, but I wouldn't like oh, my screen is. Okay, we'll answer that later. So to make that, all you have to do, and I'm gonna make this in inches. You can set it to your centimeters. When you type box, enter, you can type, actually, can you type 4? Oh, actually, no, you gotta type your first point. The first point doesn't matter. What matters is the other, and the second point that goes with it. So the first command, you type box, press anywhere, and now you type 4 in here. Oh, 4 is pretty long. Actually, I'm gonna do like 1. Oh, 1 is also pretty long. Okay, anyways, 4. Okay. 4 here. So enter. And then width is 4. And your height is 4. Oh, it's actually not that big. Okay, so now you have a 4 by 4 by 4 inch cube. Yeah. And this is an inch, but you can make it in centimeters. Okay, cool. My screen is zoomed out and it doesn't let me zoom back in.
Wait, where do you do the changing the dimensions again?
Oh, okay. So box, click anywhere to set your first point, and you just have to type 4 over here. And
Yeah,
whenever,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
How do you like change it from inches to centimeters? Like you said that you could change it.
I think when you first open the project, there
okay.
should be a option to select, but I'm actually not sure how to change it to from inches to centimeters. I think you can Google that, and if you don't get it, I'll go back to you after.
And how do you change it to like shaded?
Shaded. Okay, so you have your perspective here,
Mhm.
and you right click.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Click.
and wherever the black dot is on, it's the current mode setting. Yeah, sorry, forgot to mention, you have to right click this. And to go to other views, you just double left click, double left click,
Oh,
double left click. Okay.
but it doesn't have shaded. It just said like print preview flat shade, and then something shade selected objects only and stuff.
Pardon me, can you repeat that?
So it doesn't have shaded. It only had like it has flat shade, sub D display toggle shade selected objects only and stuff.
So like these, if you can see my screen.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it doesn't have the things on top.
Very interesting. Let me see. I think flash shade is kind of the same thing. People flash it. So are you also getting lines? When
Pardon?
if you're making a box, are you also seeing lines like that?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. I'll get back to you later.
Okay.
That's okay. Right. Okay, and if your screen zoomed out. Okay. And now I'm gonna move on from navigation to the first exercise that we have here. And everyone can just open that, I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. Okay, so this is just a fun little exercise that I made that helps you around your command. Basically, you would want to go to your top view, which is, I think when you first open it, it could be in perspective. And you can go to the for window by double left clicking as such. And then you just double left click into the top. So, and if you zoom in with your scroll wheel, you should be able to see there's some text and there's your drawing boundary. And the first one is relatively simple. It's just a point. So you can either click the point you have here, or you can type point in your command bar. So location is going to snap onto your end of the rectangle or edge of the rectangle. And one thing that I want to stress about is if you want to make another point, let's say somewhere around here, you don't have to go back and type point again. You can just press the enter key or 回车 on your keyboard like that, and it's going to repeat your last command. So I can make another point like that and press enter again, point command like that. So it's really, really quick and I'm going to repeat. So I think in this exercise, you're kind of doing like a bridge like that. And oh yeah, just a bunch of points. And then we're going to go to lines. And what you're going to do is that you're going to copy the entire thing by dragging a window and including all of your points in the window. So you see that they light up. And then you're going to, in the command bar, top left, you're going to type copy, copy, enter. And it's going to give you the first step, point to copy from. You would want to copy from any of the rectangle edges. Click that, and you can, well, barely see that your highlighted points are moving around. So you would want to copy these points to the second drawing boundary, like that. And once you're done with the command, press enter. And you can see that I've copied the points that I made into the second drawing boundary. Okay, so hopefully everyone is good with copying. For the commands, well, if you use the command a lot, it's going to save it. So when you type like CO, it's going to give you copy. But I don't think there's enough keys on your keyboard to kind of make shortcuts for all of your commands. Try this two-finger splitting. Two-finger splitting. Okay. There's a little trick that you can do. So when you're like zoomed in really, really far away, as you can see here, I think if you make a point and then, I don't know, let me test this out. Actually, no, it doesn't work. Okay, now I lost my point. Actually, if you want, it doesn't really matter whether you see the gray plane or not. I mean, and by gray plane, I mean this one over here, this one here, the plane here. It actually doesn't really matter. You can make your own plane. And I mean, so in this file, I'm lost, right? But I could just make a rectangle like that, as you can see, and then type like type this command that we're going to learn later. It's fine. This one, and then you have your own little plane here. And basically, this plane is going to be selectable. As you can see, this gray plane is not. You cannot select it. It's kind of locked in place. And this is where a neat little command comes in. If you're zoomed in really, 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 really far away, right? Now you lost your other plane. What you can do, you can type Control A. So Control, I'm gonna write it in the chat. Control A. This will, oh, oops, I sent it to, okay. Control A. So now when you type Control A, you selected everything in this file. And then you type in this command called ZS. So ZS into the command bar. And you can see that it zoomed in everything that you selected. Hopefully everyone understood that. So my point is, if you lose your gray plane, it's fine. You can just make another plane by using this command. Actually, I'm just going to teach it. So you can make a rectangle. Let's say I'm lost again. You can make a rectangle by clicking anywhere in your file and drag, so like that. And you're going to select your rectangle and type in the command planar surf. This one here. Oops. Let me type it in the chat. Planar surf to create surface. You lost a worksheet paper. Okay, 1 second.
Could you explain how to do the copy part again too?
Yeah, no problem. I'll do that copy. So once you typed that command in here, planar surf, you have your surface here. And if you lose it, you can basically just select Control Alt A, select everything, the S here in the command bar, enter, and then selected this. And now you can make whatever you want. Let's say you want to make a box, you can just put a box up here, and this will be your new work plane. Yeah, so something to keep in mind. I know everyone is still getting used to the Rhino software, so it's completely fine if you have questions. Okay, so now I'm going back to copying. All right. So again, I have my bunch of points here. And first to copy, I have to select what I want to copy, which is by dragging a window through these points, and they're going to light up to yellow. And now I'm going to type the command copy, enter, and your point to copy from is going to be, usually you put it on a reference point, which is here, the edge of your rectangle. So here, and you can see all of your stuff moving around. And you can see that I moved it from this point to here. And when I click, you can see that it has been copied from this boundary to the second boundary. Okay, and then now if I press enter, I have two copies overlap. Also, I know the points are not actually, they're pretty hard to see. So I'm gonna actually delete these just temporarily. Move this here. Let's say we have like, we have two rectangles. Like such, like that. And I would want to copy these two rectangles over here to our drawing boundary, our second drawing boundary. So all I have to do is select the two rectangles, type copy. And this is the point. So I want this point to end up here. So your point to copy from is going to be here, this point. And you're going to drag it all the way down to here. So click and enter to end the command. Now you have two rectangles. Okay, so hopefully that answered the Matthew's question. Okay, great.
Mhm.
And then these back. Okay, and copy. Okay. And our next command, and feel free to do this on your own computers, like you can tab out. You type line here, fine. Start of line would be your first point here. So click and it gives you it asks you for the end of line, which is going to be here. So now that you have successfully created a line between 2 points. We can press enter to repeat the command. Remember, you can just keep pressing enter. You don't have to type line again. So start of line is here. End of line is here. And start a line here, end of line here. So just keep repeating until you get like a arc structure as such, like that. how would it? Okay. When you have, I'm gonna do this example, but with a line. So if you have this line here, you select it, you type copy, right? Point to copy from, doesn't matter, is like here to here. Let's say that so you're asking how you can like stop the command. If you want to stop the command and you don't want to keep your second shape here, you just press escape on the top left of your keyboard. So ESC, you press it, and actually it doesn't end it, but you can just delete this. But if you're worrying about the points, actually, how do you stop the command? So copy, click, and then copy that here. There, well, I mean, if you enter, it's the same thing as pressing escape. Actually, my bad. I think the only way to do this, they haven't designed this convenient feature yet. The only way to do this, let's say you copied this over to like here, right? I think you're gonna have to manually delete this. There's like no way to escape. Oh, it worked? Okay, great. So let's go back to lines. Now that we have created these line segments using our line command with these points, we can see a kind of bridge-like arc forming. And these commands are just for 2D line sketching, which is going to be kind of your fundamentals for making 3D shapes. Okay, and then we're going to jump into probably the most useful command of the entire app, which is polylines. This basically is going to have, it's combining command 1 points and command 2 lines. So remember, for points, you have to make all of these individual points and connect them with lines. For polylines, you can just do 2 steps in one. So what I mean is you can press your first point and next point of polyline. So if I click, you can see that it literally draws a line and creates a point at the same time. So if I want to make the same bridge arc here, I just have to keep clicking and it's going to keep forming straight lines. And keep in mind, the lines are straight, which means that there's going to be a sharp angle between them. Okay, let's just make another one. Okay, and whenever you want to model something in 3D, you always want to you won't always want to start with polyline. And I'm going to answer this question. Escape work, but I can't delete it. Interesting. Sometimes it doesn't work. I guess you just let your computer cool down a bit. Maybe try to move on with some other things and then go back to it to see if you can delete it. Because I guess another way is, are there other ways to delete? Is delete a command? Try delete actually. If you have a point here, you select it and you type delete, it should be gone. Poof. Okay, so now that we have, so that was polylines. You just draw you draw points and lines at the same time. And you have, our next step is circles. For circles, I wouldn't recommend typing circles in the, but you can do that. And if you type circles in, it's going to give you one specific way to make your circle, which is you're going to start from your center, and then you're going to measure out the radius, either by eyeballing. So like that, if I want it to kind of be pretty close to my arc here, I can eyeball it like that. Or there's another way. I can type circle in here, click your center, and then I can type a number in here. Notice how it's flashing here. Let's say I type 4. Now that you know the radius is 4 inches. So both ways would work. And this is just only one way. This is okay. This is the only, like, this is not the only way to make your circle. If you look at your icons here, you can see like a circle and then there's a line through the center and one of the points. You have this little triangle here. I'm just going to enlarge this. Oh, actually, it doesn't go. get bigger anyway. So you have your little triangle here, and when you click on it, it's gonna turn blue. Okay, and you're gonna be open. The things are gonna the blue triangle is gonna open, and you can see all of these other methods to make circles. So for example, another one is diameter. So you just have to click the triangle and click on the one with where there's 2 points. Like that. The diameter basically you make a line essentially. And that would be your diameter. And then you can make a circle like that. Okay, so those are like the two main ways to make your circle. And then rectangles. Oh, we talked about this. You just type rectangle in here. So your first corner and your second corner. And the computer is going to draw perpendicular lines for you. Or you can click the rectangle shape over here, and it's going to be the same command. Okay, I'm just going to move on maybe to command 5, and then I'll answer some other questions. So for circles, remember there are also ellipses. If you click on it here, it's the one where there's a center and there's 2 points. And you can see that it's not a uniform circle. So when you click on it, it's going to start with your center. So here, and this is going to be like your actually, let's just call it your radius. You can, then you click another point so that you form a line, right? And notice how your line basically doubles. So we put the center here, and then we move your radius here. And you create another point here. And then for our third step, it's gonna have another axis to determine how slim or how thick your ellipse is gonna be. So like that. I can also match this specific point onto one of my edges, so that when I zoom in, this is going to be tangent to your corner. Okay. So polyline circle. And if I'm going too fast or if you don't understand, I have some steps here that you can read through. And the commands are usually in quotation marks. Okay. And then the next step would be curves. Okay, so there are 2 types of curves that you can create in Rhino. One is just a regular curve. And it's just the same as making a line. You can start at the end, start at the end point of your rectangle, right? And it's like polyline, you're gonna make another point. And then you're gonna see that your line essentially curves based on where you click that point. So you can curve it back, clicking, and the more times you click, the more complicated the shape will be. And so like that. And another thing, a thing that I forgot to mention is that lines, they want to get back to their original point. So if you click it back to the point where you started, the command is going to end automatically. However, if you want your line to end early, let's say you just want to connect. You just want to connect this to here. You don't want it to go all the way back to the beginning. So you're going to press enter or 回车, and it's going to cut off the line. Oh, actually cut off too early. Okay, let me do that again. I'm going to do this. So click on your last point and then press enter. So you can see that the line basically got cut off. It's the same with lines and curves. So let's go back to our curve.
Oh yeah, and then also for me, right click also works.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, to end
it
the
should
line.
work, but I don't think it works on Mac. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it should work on Windows. Oh, and I think it's past 6:15, so we should probably take a 10 minutes break. We'll be back at 6:35. I'll put a timer if you guys want that. Okay. So see you in 10 minutes. You can like walk around and like stretch, don't stare at your screen. That's what my teacher always says. So Okay, so I think break time is up. Keep sharing this. There we go. Okay. So we'll just wait for everyone to come back. Seriously? Right. So we were working on curves. So the first type of curves, which is like that. So it revolves around the points that you have created. And you can end it by clicking Shift. That is a very simple curve. And keep in mind that you cannot create circles from the curve command. So your circle is not going to be essentially like, it's not going to be a perfect circle. So if you want very exact circle, you would use the circle command. And the second type of curves is called intercurve in here. And there's a slight difference. So like that. And the start is going to be the same. You're going to start at a specific point, and then it's going to, when you keep clicking, you're going to notice that your line actually end up on the curve, so like that. And you can keep clicking till you meet the end here, enter to cut off. So the two differences, let's say I have a circle here, and I want my curve to be tangent to the circle. Or actually, let's use a rectangle because it's easier to see. So I have a rectangle and I want my curve to kind of touch the edge of the rectangle. If I use the first type of curves, the basic curve, it's actually really hard for it to exactly match on here. Because as you can see, the curve does not match on the point, does not click on the point. It actually goes, revolves around that point, like as such, like that. So no point will end up on the curve. Whereas if you use the second one, intercurve, your start of curve, it says here, if you want it to touch this edge here, you can just click it and drag back like that, cut off. So now you can see that this curve basically lies perfectly on your edge. So like that. So that's the difference. If you want more exact clipping, you would use intercurve. Okay, so those are curves. So no one has any questions? Is everyone back?
No.
Okay, no questions. All right, cool. So now we're gonna move on to control points. Oh no. Oh, anyone? Oh, I just. Okay, that was very unexpected. Okay. Wait, okay, fine. He's gone now. Okay. That's very sad that someone is crying. Now we're gonna go to control points. And let's actually, before we do that, let's make some more points using curves. Make some more curves using intercurves. Because it's good to get used to kind of how it works. So you just keep clicking on your next point and then cut off, make another one. Actually, let's just leave that as 3 so it doesn't get too complicated. So let's select our 3 curves and type copy, like what we did for our command 1 and 2, like that. And we're going to click click on this point here and copy this all the way over here. And then click enter. So now we've copied the 3 curves that we made over here. And when you select one of the curves, you can see, first of all, we have your highlighted yellow curve. And then you have these dotted lines leading to a point. So dotted lines like that. And these points are actually selectable. And if you don't see these points, just type points. So if your screen looks something like that and you don't see those dotted lines with the points, just type points on that. Don't forget the S, enter, and you should see the points. And these points are actually selectable. You can click on one of them. And we're gonna talk about these arrows, which are called gumballs. So when we first use the settings, you can see that we have all of these highlighted on. There's this setting called gumball, which basically gives you directional arrows that you can drag. So in this case, we can drag it. Remember, this was the x-axis, and then that was the y-axis. And same thing, it was like a line. If you have a line here, that's not a line. If you have a line like that, and you have gumball on, when you select it, you should also see these arrows. This one basically, actually, these arrows are movement arrows, which means that it's going to move parallel to your x-axis, and this is going to be parallel to your y-axis. Then these rectangles, dotted lines leading to a rectangle, are kind of scaling factors. You can make your line bigger like that. Basically stretch it out. So like that. So these are some gumball things that you should know. And we're gonna go back to gumballs later. Okay. So now that we have our control points, dotted lines, we're gonna, let's say we select one of the points, and then we're gonna, what if we try to move the points? You can see that the curves, they basically adjust based on where you move the point. So if we move the specific point down, you can see this part of the curve kind of gets squeezed up. And then now it gets enlarged. So these points are just there to modify what your shape looks like after you've created them. Okay, so like that. And another thing, very important, usually the most important part about control points are the endpoints. Because if I have another rectangle here, and I want the end of this curve to move onto here, I can select the curve, select this control point here, and we can type the move command. And what move command is that you select, say the point is already selected. It's basically copying. You have your point here, is to move from here all the way to here, which is the edge of our second rectangle. So you can click this, and you can see that the curve originally leading to this edge has changed to this edge. Okay. So that's control points. And I just want to talk a little bit more about the move command. When you have a, say you have a rectangle, we're using a lot of rectangles this time. 2 rectangles like that. If you want to kind of click these 2 edges together, instead of trying to kind of trying to move this on top of it, which is actually not that accurate, as you can see, we use the move command. So objects to move would be this one, enter, point to move from. So I would move from this point. And you can see that it basically made a copy. It's kind of like the same thing as the steps in copying. But once you click on this point here, you can see that the shape has moved from this, like somewhere over here to there. So yeah, so once you have these snaps on, you can very easily clip things together. All right, so that's control points. And then if you don't want, let's say we don't want this shape to click on here, instead we can click on this control point, type move, click on originally where it is, and move this point to here. So now you can see that they both clicked onto this edge. So yeah, so that's control points. And I wrote a lot of stuff here. Yeah, just make sure when you're doing, actually, when you're doing anything, make sure you have a gumball highlighted because it helps you to move around the axis. So up and down, left and right. And there's another thing. Let's say we have a, go back here, actually, oops, sorry, here. So when you have your line, say we have a random line like that, when you don't have gumball, it's just, you can't really, you don't really know how to move it because you don't have any reference. However, when you have it on, you have these arrows indicating where it's going. Like that. So in this case, this is going to be parallel to x-axis, parallel to y-axis. And later we're going to learn the blue axis called the z-axis, which is when we're going to be transitioning into 3D. And if you have this grid, I mean, if you see this grid here, it basically is like a mix between your red and green. When you drag on this grid, you're free to move around the axis. And this isn't really useful until we learn things in 3D. So yeah, so that was control points. And now we're going to transition into some of the 3D curves. So let's just copy all of these actually into copy these over here. Okay, so for this command, you're gonna chat. Can what do you mean by p lines? So where did you just mistype it? Do you mean like 2 lines? So if you have 2 lines, that, and you have another one, for example, like that. And yeah, you can join 2 lines. All you have to do is move this point over to here, like that. And oops, now there's still 2 individual lines, right? But you can select both of them and type the command join. Enter. And now you have 1 line. So most of the commands are really straightforward. Like if you want to join something, you just type join. If you want to make a line, you type line. Okay. And then we're going to move on to 3D curves. Okay. And then for this, we're going to go back. So double left click top over here. And then we're going to go to perspective. So double click perspective. With this. So now we can see where we were essentially working on a piece of paper. But since we were looking at it from the top view, it's the same thing, right? When you look at it, when you look at this plane from the side, it's essentially just very long line, right? Okay, so we're gonna zoom in to our things over here. Okay, so you have your 3D curves. Okay, and we're also gonna use control points here. And basically, it's just okay. I hope you guys can actually visualize this. This is essentially, actually, let's move this over here, back here. This is essentially just what we made. We were essentially we were drawing lines on the paper, and now we're moving the paper around like that. So when you have a 3D curve, I mean, when you have when you want to make a 3D curve, you basically select one of the control points, and you see how the dotted lines as such, and you have your dot here and your gumball here. And notice how there's an additional arrow. So before we had a green arrow and a red arrow. Now we have an additional blue arrow. And when we drag it up, so the control point is going to be lifted up. This might not be very obvious. Let's lift up a bit more. So like that. You can see that this paper basically kind of flew out of the page. And this is called a 3D curve. Because it's no
My
longer.
thing are all like inverted.
Pardon me?
Like my thing is inverted.
What do you mean by inverted? Like that? Like that? Wait. Inverted. Do you mean by like so your shapes are inverted or your
My page.
So you probably
Like
you're
like
viewing it
my
like that?
like my command 6 is above my command 5.
Sorry, command 6 is above your command. Like that? Are you looking at my screen?
But like I can read it.
Wait, okay. Can you still read the text?
Yeah, but like,
Okay.
and I can't like make it so that it goes like what you're doing.
Wait, so right now I'm like, my things are kind of inverted as well. So you see, like it starts with command 4, right? Is this what you're
No,
seeing?
like, yeah, but like I can't find the blue arrow.
Oh, okay. I think I know why. It's just okay. You have to go to perspective mode. I think
Yeah,
maybe you're
I'm
stuck.
in perspective.
Okay. Like that?
Yeah, and I have gumball on.
Okay. So are you right now? I think you can try to look at it from the side like that.
Yeah,
Like-
I can do that.
Okay. So they should all be like perpendicular 90 degrees to each other. So maybe this is kind of like blocking the arrow, but it should be there. Are you seeing the blue and red? I mean, I'm sorry, the green and red.
Yes.
Okay. And do you see like a blue circle, like an arc?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little weird.
Should I like exit out of my Rhino?
Okay, I'll figure. Actually, this is pretty important. So you can't like see the blue arrow at all.
No.
Okay. Do you mind like sharing your screen so that I could see?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna say host disable participant screen sharing.
Okay. Host. Okay. I guess maybe I'll work with you after I finish everything. So okay. And we're gonna go back. I'm not sharing. Okay. So don't worry, we're gonna figure this out. And okay, so where was I? So control points. If you don't see the blue curve, interesting. Okay, anyways, so when you have a control point, right, like that, control point here, you can lift this in the blue arrow direction, and it's gonna turn into a 3D curve because it has been kind of you can think of it as it's been lifted off the page like that. Okay. And yeah, I think that's everything about line drawing and 2D, 3D sketching. So does anyone have any questions? Okay. So if we're finished with that, then let's move on to the second one. I don't think we're gonna have like time to do all of the kinds. Maybe maybe we'll do the first 4 and leave sweep for after. So basically, and was that Matthew, if you can go to this thing, go to the practice number 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And then see if you can see the blue arrow, because it should look something like that. And you should start in perspective mode. Don't go to top mode. Go straight into perspective mode because we're going to be working with 3D shapes. And this one we already learned is a box. So all you have to do is type box.
I can see the blue arrow now.
Oh, you can see it now? Okay, so there must have been some problem with like the access, and like maybe in your practice 1, you have some like, I guess, perspective issues. Or so you can see it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you drag the blue arrow, your shape should go up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh yeah, so let's just go back to our command 1, which is a box. You just have to type your box, get your base plane. So like here, and then try to make it as tall as possible. It should click onto the height and be the same height as your kind of reference shape here. So this is our box. Okay, and our command 2, we had a brief introduction. It's called planar surface. And in Rhino, anything with the word planar means 2D. In this case, it's a 2D, you can kind of see it as a 2D surface. And to start this command, you would start with a rectangle at here to here. So now that I have my rectangle, I can type in the command planar surf. So surf is short for surface. And make sure that you're selecting the shape. If you're not selecting it, it's going to ask you to kind of select the curves, so like that, and then press enter once you're done with selecting. Enter, and the command is going to run, and then you can see that a surface has been created from your rectangular line. So, and then I can move this out. So you can see they're the exact same size. Basically, you're just filling in this shape. Okay. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a rectangle. It could be any uniform or organic shape. So if I want, let's say, I can make a circle as such and type the command planar surf, enter, and make that into a plane. Or I could do something very abstract. So I could make this kind of rounded organic shape like that. And I can type planar surf. And it's going to make a surface for me. And also like a triangle, anything would work. Surface like that. And remember when I said that it's a 2D surface? So going back to what we learned here, if we try to make a 3D curve by, say, making a, say, organic shape, that, and if we try to drag the control points up like that, this one here, up, this one down here. So like that, now it's not a 2D shape anymore. If we type planar surface, it's going to give you an error and says, and it's going to say that no faces were made because curves must be closed and planar. So now we know that in order to execute this command, your shape has to be closed and planar, which means 2D. So this is a 3D curve, and it's not going to work with planar surface. But there are other commands that we're going to learn later to make surfaces. And also another thing is that it has to be closed. So if you have an open curve like that, you're also unable to run the planar surface. Okay, so that's planar surface. This is a very important command. Okay. Chat. Yep. And your extrude curve. Okay, basically it's let's say we have, and then if you can see the pattern, basically everything 3D that we're making, like for example, a box, we're starting from 2D and then we're moving it to 3D. And it's the same with this command called extrude curve, which is extrude just means to kind of pop out. And when you have, let's say, let's make a circle here. And you can type in the command extrude CRV, which stands for curve. Extrude curve. Enter. So first you select the curves that you want to work with, enter. And your extrusion distance. This is going to, you could, it's the same as making actually anything. You could eyeball it, or you could set a specific length. So in this case, I eyeballed it and made it the exact same as our plane here. So this is equal to that. But you could also, so type the command again, should curve your extrusion distance. Let's say, let's make it like 6. Notice how like 7, 8, 9. If we go like 20, goes a lot higher. So 20, enter. And now this is going to be 20 inches in height. And extrude curve, since the command does not have the word planar in it, it's going to work with 3D shapes. This means if we have, oh, I delete the shape, but if we have a 3D curve here, that we lift some of the control points. So that now it turned into 3D. You could also use extrude curve. And basically it creates a surface up like that. So pretty useful command, as long as it's a line, because curve basically means a line. As long as it's a line, it's basically eligible to use extrude curve. And when we have, let's just go back to this shape here. The shape actually doesn't have to be closed, unlike this planar surface. So if we draw an open surface like that, we can also extrude this curve there. And you can see, oops, you can see it that it basically extrudes up. Oh, okay, like that. And your shape here is going to be open. Okay. And one last thing about extrude curve. When you use the command, you have access to these, these are called toolbar. I mean, this is called toolbar, these are called tools. And you have both sides equals to no. This means that it's only going to extrude one side in the direction of your cursor. If you click that, it turns into both sides equal to yes. This means this is gonna extrude both sides. So like that. And your final shape is gonna look something like that. And these are going to be equal lengths. Okay. You can also have the option to make this a solid. So right now the solid is equal to no, which means this is going to be an open poly surface. And let's turn both sides off. So it's going to look something like that. And you can see that essentially this, I'll call it like a bottle, this would be open. And you could close it by executing the command and clicking the solid equals no so that it turns into yes. So now that when you click, okay, actually this is not a uniform shape. Let's try a circular shape actually. Like that. Extrude curve. extrude curve. So your extrusion is here. And then let's say solid is equal to no. And then let's make another one. So copy and paste this over here to repeat the same command. So this time let's make the solid yes. So same height. And you can see this one is basically a enclosed poly surface, whereas this one is not. And if you want to close this, you just have to type CAP. So like a bottle cap. So make sure you're selecting your cylinder here. Enter, and it's gonna cap it on for you. Okay, so that was some basic 3D commands. And does anyone have any questions? Okay, hopefully everyone is good. And then I'm going to, one second. So yeah, I think we're gonna stop here today. We do still have 2 commands left. Oh, I see the message. Does cap at the top? Oh, it adds both the top and bottom. But as I was saying, if you have a 3D curve, let's see if we can find it. Yeah, if you have this shape and you extrude it like that, cap actually doesn't work because it has to be planar and this 3D curve is not 2D. So there is one way actually to cap this. You're gonna need a 3D surface creating command, which we're gonna talk probably next class about. Okay. Yeah, so when you have a cylinder, it should cap both sides. So if you type cap, so right now both sides are open, top and bottom. If you type cap, oops, type cap, then it should be closed. All right. Okay, so if no one has any questions, I'm gonna end the poll actually. So that's pretty good. So everyone has done the poll. Should I share results? Oh, oops. Interesting. Okay, I'll look at it after. So if you don't have the app, you can I'll reach out to you. What if I only want to cap the top? Okay, so if you only want to cap the top, it would be, so the one way to do this based on what we have learned today, right? Because there are multiple ways. There are always other ways to do this.
太厉害了，就让你来弄，是不是？这样就可以了啊。
就好了吗？
对，这教
Okay, basically when you the things that we learned today, right? One is planar surface. So to have a better representation of this, you basically remember this shape comes from a circle, right? You just extrude this from a circle. If we move the circle out using gumball like that, we can type planar surface. So you can see that it has created kind of like a lid. And now all we have to do is use the move command and click. I would say like actually any point would work because it's a circle. So click it on here. Oh, actually not any. I'm mistaken. You can move it with. Interesting. It's not clicking. What about if I center? Oh, just do it like that. But is there any other way? Perpendicular intersection. Okay. So I would just basically, I only pulled it out because for demonstration purposes. But if you want, you just have to type planar surface, planar surface dot. So now you can see the bottom is capped, but this surface is going to move freely, which means that you can just move it up to here so that your top is capped and your bottom is not. So that's the way to do it based on what we learned, but there are other ways to do it. I'm going to talk about maybe after. Oh, you forgot. No, you don't have to do the poll. Like if you, do you have, Tina, do you have the app?
Wait, how do you drag the bottom part down again?
Drag bottom part down. Oh no, I dragged top part, bottom part up. Is that what you mean?
Oh,
Like that? So it was at the bottom, right? And then I moved it up, so the top is capped. So basically you have, this is a free surface. It's not connected to your cylinder here. And you just have to use the command move. The point to move from is your end here. And then you just have to move it straight up. It's gonna, so it's gonna show end and intersection again. And you click, it's gonna end up on the top. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, does anyone have any more questions? Okay, so I would say for next week, maybe look through command 4 and command 5. They are kind of getting into the region of complicated commands, and it's fine if you don't understand them. Okay, just give me one last second. I'm gonna drop a Discord link here. So if this is just for my convenience, because as you probably know, like emailing is kind of hard because no one there we go. So that's the Discord link for our circle. And if you don't know what Discord is, it's fine. Just make sure you check your emails for every assignment or every file that I put up. And yeah, if you're in the Discord, I'll still send emails, but this is just very convenient because I can just drop it in the group and everyone sees it. Okay, so I'm gonna give everyone a few seconds to take the link.
Kenneth, you do realize we still need to set up the servers.
It's okay. It's just like we just have to make few channels.
2 channels, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me admin, I'll set it up or
Okay.
something.
I can help.
Oh, okay, sure. All right, so actually, I'm gonna give you guys like 2 minutes because Discord links are pretty weird. Okay, and if you have if you're done with adding Discord or you don't know what Discord is, you can leave right now. So thank you everyone for coming. And I will see you next week. Yeah, you can help with Discord. Just message me on Discord. No problem.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. We have meeting
Thanks.
next, see you next week at 5:30, the same time. And use the same link.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Also, don't forget to save the recording, Kenneth.
Oh, how do you save the recording?